In this meeting of the Park City Board of Education, we will begin with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're starting with discussion items today. And Randy's gonna let us know where we stand as of October 9th.
All right, so we'll give you just some random facts about October 1, some of the data that came in. Keep in mind that this report's a head count, it's like a snapshot on one day. Who's a member on that day, on October 1st? The data can generate from,
Sorry.
if you're a member,
Yes.
if you're enrolled in the school, you're a member. If you're not enrolled in the school, you're not a member. No,
This is not how we usually.
that's just what they can. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, some of this data will generate some funding. Most of it's for informational purposes. Keep in mind, our K-12 differential is 200 students, meaning we had 200 more graduates than we had kindergarten kids coming in, right, is what that means. So we use that as kind of a starting point. We do have, you'll see in the numbers, we have 15 additional kindergarten kids over last year.
Randy, sorry, how much has that differential changed?
It's been about that the whole time I've been here.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's no particular reason to think that could be reflected. 13 years from now.
no, so the classes coming in are about 260 kids, 226 kids,
Yeah.
excuse me. Classes going around are just in the over 400 range.
Yeah.
We've got about, I think, 4 more years of that.
Okay.
That we'll work with, but that's kind of what's been one of the main causes of decreased enrollment is just those upper grades, having more kids in them. Going through, some of it we don't realize necessarily because we have kids coming with, in 10th grade now, the 9th
Yeah.
grade. That come in from charter schools, private schools, whatever.
That's kind of what I was getting at, like how much of that is covered in that?
In that
How many do we expect to pick up as kids come in ninth grade?
A little over 80 this year came in ninth grade instead of 10th grade. Historically, they've been returning in 10th grade.
It's high school.
Didn't want to go to treasure for whatever reason, and so they were coming back in 10th grade. And this year they returned in ninth grade, which created some challenges in terms of master scheduling, but now we know to plan for an additional 80 to 100 kids to return back to our school district in the ninth grade versus 10th grade.
But we still expect a differential of 100 or so.
A few more years, yeah.
Okay.
But I've thrown in a preliminary projection, you're gonna see because of schools being open, it's changed the trajectory.
Yeah.
A little bit, so we're gonna have some of that to play with as well.
Good.
So we're down overall 68 students, our in-migration is 117 students. And so being down 68 with the differential of 200, that's pretty good, obviously the open enrollment helped. With that, in-migration could be anything from move-ins to current employees bring their kids here for school, new employees bring their kids here for school, or the open enrollment, they're boundaried in another LEA overall. So I just want to do a shout out to Drew Frank and his team. They have a very short window to report this stuff to the state office, and they're on top of it. We're on time. The data is accurate as far as we can tell, and his team does an amazing job, as well as all those that are using PowerSchool, putting in data all the time. You really has set things up well, so. All right, moving along, here's the enrollment by school. So you can see Parley's is down 25 kids, McClellan's up 25 kids, Jeremy Ranch is about even. And so you see the change in Ector a little bit as bigger sizes are moving up to the high school. High school's only lost 27 kids. Keep in mind that they've got 9th graders there now as well, right? So all those numbers have been adjusted for that. Our overall enrollment's 4049, that total there. It was 4117 was our head count a year ago. So that's where we're getting the 68 kids.
So you said the numbers are adjusted for the realignment.
Bumping right.
Does that mean the 25 numbers here?
Yes,
I mean,
That's great.
so the 25 columns adjusted,
yes,
we put eighth grade with Becker.
gotcha,
For
okay.
comparability, ninth grade with the high school.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That question, since we're expecting like 80 kids that come in 8th grade, does that bring our class sizes higher than the 200 plus that we've had? Like you were saying, they're graduating at 400.
Yeah, there's a bubble in our secondary schools right now, and we anticipate as that bubble graduates, we're not seeing the same number of kids enroll. So you'll see the graduating classes start to be below 400 in the next couple of years.
And that's been a common occurrence just with kids coming in, but it's been in the 10th grade, not necessarily the 9th grade.
Mhm.
Right, so you see a decrease to 27 kids in the school overall. That tells me those classes are still the 400 range, or just below. So. Okay, next one is enrollment by grade. So you can tell by grade. For example, 3rd grade, you see a loss of 59 kids. That's really just a large bubble. We had a lot of kids in 3rd grade a year ago. We didn't have as many kids in 2nd grade a year ago, and now those 2nd graders have become 3rd graders and moved on up the line. And so, and I'll show you some other data here in a minute that shows the progression of grade to grade. So for example, 2nd grade going to 3rd grade this year, in that progression, it's actually a gain. But because we're counting 2nd graders in 3rd grade this year, and the previous year's 3rd graders went on to 4th grade. From this chart, that's why you're seeing such a big number, because there was a disparity between the number of kids in those grades last year. So
What is 11 up?
11th grade.
That is normal.
Yeah, that's really just, it's really just survival ratio. Honestly, if you look at the 360 for 8th grade, for example, and FY25, and that becomes 378 in 9th grade, and move it grade going up. I mean, you look at 11th grade, you just had more kids in a class, so this is really class by class. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like saying, hey, we're gonna take last year's data, and we're not gonna really compare apples to apples to this year's data, because those kids have moved up, right? So we're kind of seeing a different grade.
And it's tricky, we'll have kids come back from the winter school, we'll have kids return from private school, they'll try it, I mean, there's all sorts of unique situations once you enter the high school.
The Park City Day School goes up to what grade?
8th grade.
Yeah, that's a good point by superintendent. So at the end of the year, even though this is a head count, it may affect their ADM because they may only be taking 2 classes. Right, they won't be fully enrolled. They'll count as a full student here, but they won't count as a full student as a membership member.
We
So,
also have got to factor in Utah online school, or just any online provider. We have a lot of students taking onesie, twosie classes online, or 7 classes online, and then they only come to the high school for 1 class.
But you just said maybe they don't count as a member, or?
so
They would, because
Yeah.
they're enrolled with us. They're
it's
still enrolled.
part-time.
Mhm.
So if they take 2 out of the 8 classes, then they're considered a 0.25 student, and getting a 0.25, they're not gonna do that, right, you know?
It changes the WPU that we receive.
Right.
Which is why we want to keep them here with us. And why we've embedded some of our minors online classes into the school day, and our own teachers are teaching them, so we can keep that WPU within Park City.
So notice in kindergarten, our number went up in the kindergarten level. So that's gonna generate a little bit of growth for us. They separate it out by kindergarten, and they separate it out by 1 through 12. They used to do it all together, but now they changed it to separate it out, which is kind of bad for school districts. So we'll generate a little bit extra money there on growth. Overall, the WPU that we projected for this year, we're about $40,000 up in WPU funding. So we're at least, in the accounting world, we consider that break even. Others may not consider that break even, but as long as we're not in the red, we're happy, so. All right, moving along, grade to grade survival. So this is kind of a chart that says kindergartners last year was 211, for example. Kindergartners this year, or 1st graders this year, 240. So you can see, we've got 29 additional kids. So we would consider that 100+ survival ratio, we would call that. Meaning, hey, we've got more than 100% of the kids in the previous grade from the year before getting to the next grade. What's interesting is you only see one negative here. So from every grade to the next incremental, that means kids are staying and there's additional migration. So in-migration will be part of this number as well. Overall.
This is presumably built to the actual kids, right? So if you have 30 kids that go and 32 that come in, it'll be +2.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, moving along, here's elementary schools. I won't go into much detail on that. It just shows you grade by grade, what their changes are, in case you're interested in that. This is in the board packet. So preschool, we had an increase in preschool is what was expected, 55 kids. You can see the big gainers are Jeremy Ranch and Trailside. McPullen actually went down 7 kids. And then Parley's about the same, it's 11+, so. Preschool's running well, Missy's doing a great job, and we expect that to probably still grow, but preschool's not been enrolled.
It's not.
So,
Room for in preschool.
3 classrooms, one at Poland and 2 at Parley's.
But what's the total enrollment from all the, from the preschool?
200,
208,
yeah.
Was the October.
How many, like, can we max out at, is what I'm trying to figure out.
We could probably take another 40-ish.
Oh, okay, so just under 300,
Yeah,
okay.
the challenge is some families also need aftercare. And that's a conversation we're having internally. How can we
Right.
guarantee if they're admitted to preschool, then they also are guaranteed the aftercare? Many of our local preschool programs, they have to give a tuition deposit or commitment now.
Mm-hmm.
And some are refundable and some are not. So we're trying to figure out how we can adjust our registration window to capture those families who do want to come
Yeah,
to our preschool program and guarantee aftercare for them, because that's a big determining factor for families.
okay.
the same.
Yeah.
So in total students that were serving 4,257, with preschool going up 55 and our overall K-12 enrollment going down 68, we're really serving only 13 less kids, right, in our system. It's just that preschool is not funded by the state, but when you include the whole number, we're still serving those kids, so. I've shared in here the next 2 slides. One is ethnicity and race. So this is what's reported. Keep in mind, a student can select more than one category. In Power School, that's why you see the number higher, for example, the 5134, so. And then the next one is just additional data. Kathleen's gonna love this free and reduced. This is one of the numbers we'll look into. It's down 275 applications. Part of that is a result of all the ICE things going on. With families afraid to, fill out applications and put their name in anything. That's a real thing, so. The other one is the immigrants. Our number went up drastically in immigrants, so we're looking at that figure. And see where we're at. Spanish kids that have Spanish as their native language is 588 in the district. Compared to 620 last year, so we have a number of students, that's more than 10% of our enrollment. But the native language is Spanish, so. All right, moving on to preliminary projections. This is like picking the #1 college football team before the season started, which isn't very successful, as you can tell.
We believe it.
Because of that, because again, I mentioned the survival ratios before.
Well, whole meetings.
Yeah. Because of the increase in survival ratios, because of the influx of kids this year with open enrollment and things we haven't seen in the past few years. Those survival ratios are higher, so just taking an average of those across each grade. The projections are coming out just over 4,000 kids, about 3 fewer than what we have this year, so we.
And that's assuming we keep everything the same as it is now in terms of enrollment and.
Correct, yeah, correct, and we're seeing some growth, as the superintendent mentioned, we're seeing some growth in the high school as well, right? More 9th graders coming in, those kind of things, so. They're really kind of interesting over the next 5 years, based on that model, and that's keeping things status quo with kindergarten kids coming in. But it kind of levels things out, right? So that 100, that every year 100 student loss that we've been having kind of equalizes out on that. So we'll put more information into this and kind of look at how numbers are in different months over the next couple of months to see how we hold up compared to October 1. But anyway, this may be helping us level off enrollment.
How do you determine these numbers? Is it from the county with what's gonna be built, or how do you determine that this many kindergartners are gonna come 5 years from now?
Yeah, so I look at birth rates for the county or for Burke City. I haven't put a lot of reliability into building until the building's almost done. Because what I found is a building project's approved and then 12 years later, it still hasn't started, right? We've seen that a lot in Burke City. And so once we start building and see that, then yeah, sure, we'll start, estimating. But keep in mind the in-migration kids, which are partially from some of those subdivisions, the in-migration kids are in these numbers and included in the survival ratios going year to year. So there is a component in here that's already including them, and there's us adding the additional kids.
So if you think,
Sorry.
yeah, kind of putting us, if you think something about that, I think that's like, that's kind of said. You're saying that's not included in here because we don't have when that's actually gonna be built.
Yeah, when's it gonna start, right? So rather than bolster these numbers and say, yeah, we're gonna get an additional so many kids. Yeah, right now we need a long.
So from our perspective, looking at these numbers, we should best think of this as best projection plus anything that's built.
Yes, yeah, if there's something that's coming online, like the studio crossing's probably coming online. Don't know how many kids will be in there, there's only. And there's very few 3-bedroom units, so. Don't know if there'll be a lot of kids coming from that development, so really don't build anything into that because the number of kids coming in would now be significant. Right.
All the development on the other side by Home Depot, that is.
South Summit.
South
South Summit. Do we have those kids coming here?
Some through open enrollment, K-5.
Have been coming? Do you know, are they building a school out there?
Not that I'm
I think
aware of.
South Summit.
North-
Was on the.
North Summit is bonding.
I just didn't know what that, it just seems to be really growing back there. And I didn't know if they're really planning on building an elementary school, or will we see more of them that wanna come this way?
I think you're gonna see more that want to come here because of proximity. And
Yeah.
I think the hospitals, they are the trail side and the Pullman and even the high school.
Yeah, but if they build a school there, that could change the whole.
I think with South Summit, the only thing I can see them doing is rebuilding
Yeah.
and then maybe making the school larger. They would probably rather bus those kids
Rather bus
than
them.
build their school, the cost of the development, yeah. Plus with our decision to do open enrollment, it was kind of late in the game as well, we had to get turnout. But kind of late in the game, and so you may see more kids from over there down this way.
What we did see is a lot of South Summit boundary families that were going to Wyoming applied to come to our elementary schools. There were a lot of Wyoming families.
All right, this is your first look at preliminary projections, so any questions? Was that-
I need another question.
Okay.
I think, does the the reduction in number of free lunches seems really disproportionate to the number that is reducing in students. Was there something different about how we either advertised, enrolled, or got people in that program this year, or are we attributing it only to the reduction in students who might be using it?
I think it's families are reluctant to provide that information.
So, if
So they're not completing
You're
the
not filling out the
application.
application, so is our student lunch debt gone up since the beginning of the year because of that?
Well, we'll have 1 month to look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
the office hasn't even reimbursed us any emails yet, so
Yeah,
that's not early in the game where.
I don't know if when it's coming either.
But Dr. Gallagher, that is one, I'll work with John Hopkins, that is one data point we'll look at. Because it has gone down a lot, I think the significant amount of it's probably gonna be those that don't want to fill out the application. Because of fear of the federal government having their information, honestly. But we'll look into that number and see if we can figure out why it's so drastically different.
Because that they reached out to like the Christian Center to work with them to get families to fill out, you know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to compare to the number of people who are actually eating lunch as well. I mean, you point out that, right? Is
Yeah.
it just they're not putting in the
They're
application,
eating,
but they are
but-
eating, or do we have a whole bunch of kids who are not eating lunch, which is I love?
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
question, whether they're bringing the lunch from home or whether they're just not
They're
eating.
eating
Meal counts are
or
down.
if they're bringing up debt, because that usually is what counteracts that is the debt.
Yeah, that's something we can look at.
It's a whole conversation, but I would love to look at what is possible
Yes.
with lunches generally.
Yeah.
So,
Turning back to, during the pandemic where
Love to.
every child was provided lunch.
If it's feasible to do, I'd love to.
Without adding to the life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like you said, has the federal funds even come down for that or special ed?
Big preference.
So we
Exactly.
recently. So the special ed grants, we usually get late in the game. So they haven't come down yet. We usually subsidize those till January or so. Other grants have come down. As far as being paid for meals, the federal money came in for the summer meals. They did, in the September allotment, they didn't come in for the August meals. But again, it's a short period.
Right,
So I think in the past, they've just done it in October for August through September, I'm not sure. But it was not on the allotment this last time. I would expect to see some in October.
their entitlement should have been to October 1, so they should have been safe, the bit stayed out there.
Yeah,
But, yeah. And then with what's happened with special ed, is that going to affect funding? I mean, they're pretty much dissolved to the department.
Yeah, I would say we use more local revenue than federal funding or state, that we're contributing a significant amount of local tax dollars to.
I think we need to let the public know that we are still supporting that.
yeah. Yeah, that we've not heard anything different, that special ed funding is in jeopardy.
Okay,
And they tag team, Department of Education, yeah, they had a lot of cutbacks there. But they partner with Health and Human Services as well when it comes to special ed kids. So I'm not too concerned about it. It's not gonna interrupt any services, not gonna interrupt any of our programs, we're fine. So.
all right, thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
School calendar. So I'm gonna provide an overview of the survey results. As many of you know, we had not surveyed our community since 2019. What we do know is many new families moved in during the pandemic as well as post-pandemic. And so the intent behind putting out this survey was to find out, what do our families value? Do we still value a week-long February break? Do we still find value in the Friday early release? Do we want to start school earlier? Do we want to maximize the weather in August? All of those factors were considered in the calendar. So by code, we need 180 school days. However, we can use up to 4 school days for teacher prep time and count those as part of our 180 days. And then we need to build in snow days. The last thing we want to do is be Park City requesting an exception because we did not build in a snow day given the resort town where we live. We had 2,087 responses, which from my perspective is phenomenal. It says that our community wanted to have input, and they have opinions about the school calendar. So there were 3 options. Option 1 was essentially status quo, with the exception of we did build in 2 more professional development days on August 18th and 19th. And the idea behind that was to provide teachers with protected time where they can work in their classrooms, potentially hold back to school nights, and not feel so overwhelmed that their classroom isn't ready and kids are showing up the next day. We would still maintain that 3rd week of August with the start date beginning on August 20th, which is a Thursday, not a Monday. I think many of us felt the pain of a long first week back, myself included. It maintains our Jewish holidays. It puts fall break back to a typical schedule aligned with the rest of the state of Utah. It maintains a full week at February break. There are additional teacher compensation days. Spring break is earlier there. One thing we did hear from the community is that they would prefer to have spring break that second full week of April, especially if we're gonna keep that full week at February break, so they're not so close together. This one has last day in graduation on June 4th. So again, provides additional professional development days for teachers while preserving the full February break. Option 2 starts us a little earlier. It keeps the first day of school in the third week of August. It adds PD days for our educators, but it adjusted the length of February break. We had already made a decision not to touch February break. We put that out last week in the newsletter. We're not going to touch February break, and we're not changing Friday early outs. And I'll get to that, the reasoning why. This particular schedule has us ending the Friday before Memorial Day. There was a lot of feedback that the weather is still not ideal. There's a reason why they call it muddy season. And really opposed to ending school prior to Memorial Day. Option 3 gives us our earliest start. And this is really coming from some high school folks with fall athletics starting as early as July, and then AP testing happening in the first 2 full weeks of May, trying to maximize instructional time with AP and then ending school once those tests conclude. That also maintains a full week off in February, but again, it ends that Friday before Memorial Day. So you can see the calendar options of support, parents preferring option 1, majority employees, option 1, and those who are both employees and parents, option 1, students and community members. So you can see there's a large contingency supporting that option 1, which is essentially maintaining our status quo with a couple of tweaks. This question was specific to February break and whether or not there was support to modifying February break. Largely in support of not modifying February break, so we will keep February break. But again, you can see it how it's broken down by our different interest groups. And then this was primarily for our secondary parents. Do they want to end the semester before winter break? So giving finals on that Friday before we exit for winter break and then the semester ends. In talking with some of our teachers, they felt like they couldn't get through the content if we crunched first semester into August to December. So that's something we can continue to have conversation about. We try to have 45 days per quarter and try to balance the red-white schedule so they're seeing their students equal amount of time on red days and white days. And then aligning with Wasatch Back Schools, we were kind of all over the board. Really, most of our community and different interest groups didn't have an opinion. It seems that second week of April tends to work for our families, so that may be something that we maintain. And then overwhelmingly, 84% when you take the average want to maintain the Friday early out, which is why we are not going to change it. So February break will remain and Friday early outs will remain. We had 769 comments because we did provide just a open comment box. Most of the themes were keep early out Fridays, keep full February break, a later school start. Some even wanted to start after Labor Day. If you've lived on the East Coast, that is common practice there. 11% of those comments were specific to ending the semester before winter break. There was support for PD days with caution, meaning that teachers want time in their classroom. So if you're going to give us a PD day, don't have district directed professional development, allow us to be in our classroom working, preparing lessons or preparing our classroom for the first day of school. There was opposition to late starts. Opposition to starting earlier and ending before Memorial Day. Some comments specific to religious holidays, and then traffic, which we all know if you've been on Kearns in the last 4 weeks. It's challenging. Something that did come up, that wasn't specific to school calendar, but start times for high school, which is something we will explore. We wanted realignment to conclude and then have our students settle into both Eckerd Hill and the high school and look at traffic flow before making a decision if we needed to change start times. Questions about school calendar?
I appreciate all the hard work. This is a big chunk of work to do.
Yeah,
And
no,
very meaningful, probably more than what any of us anticipated.
yeah, it gave us
Anticipation.
feedback and shared, you know, we all have blind spots. If we moved Friday early outs, it would decimate our YSA program. That's not something we want to do. Other things, you know, in talking with PCEF and Park City Community Foundation, please don't have a PD day on the Friday of Live PC, Give PC. That happened inadvertently for this year, so students are out of school, teachers are in professional development on the Friday that Live PC, Give PC is happening this year, and want to avoid that in future years. Running with Ed typically happens the third Saturday of May. If we're now ending before Memorial Day, that's gonna have a huge impact on one of their largest fundraisers. So there's lots of things to be considered. School calendars are very complex, they're not black and white. And everyone has their perspectives and opinions about what works well for their family. So in talking with the calendar committee, one option is, do we refine option 1 and 3 and put it back out for a final vote? 1 being just status quo. 3 was the one where we started much earlier in August and ended before Memorial Day. Or do we just simply refine option 1 and bring that back before the board for a vote in November?
How many schools start that late in August?
It would be the earliest to start. For example, Wasatch started the same day we did this year. They're getting out that Friday before Memorial Day
Because I don't have speed.
because they don't have ski break. And they're using those 4 PD days for their teachers, and we're only using 2.
How many start after us?
I would say I have very few, if any.
Box Elder would be one of the few districts, they start closer to Labor Day.
Okay.
Right. Salt Lake County and Granite, they were.
They're usually like a couple days or a week before us, but if we went that first week in August, we would be probably the first to start.
As I remember, didn't like Iron County and Washington, those down there start the beginning of like the 14th of August? I know some other districts started very early.
Like the middle of August?
Yeah, like when we have on here the 14th, like right around there.
I think that's when Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, high school specifically, you have fall athletics.
Right.
They start practice in July, so those families are already anticipating being in town because they've got to be at tryouts and practices. So that was one argument for starting early. On the back end, it's AP testing. However, AP testing, there's a whole week of makeups. That's the 3rd week of May. So now our counselors are scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
It's crunch time to get those makeups happening that 3rd week of May, and then you're ending school. And quite frankly, I don't know if we'd be ready. If we ended this year on June, I forget the last day of school, and then we're returning on August 7th. Power School goes offline on July 1st, doesn't come back up till mid to late July. Now we're asking our secretaries to come back mid-July. So it'd be a very short turnaround for this first summer
Year.
if we move to that earlier start in August.
In our spring break, do we have a whole week off of that, or
We
can
do.
that be adjusted to give them some days earlier?
I think by that time, everybody needs a break.
Okay.
March is a long month, because there are no breaks. And it's dark and it's cold and you feel like winter has.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, I think we'd be hard pressed to, decrease our spring break length.
They'll bump into the religious holidays
Mhm.
too.
And that's where we provide one of those teacher compensation days, so it falls within that spring break.
Okay.
So Iron County this year started on August 13th. Teachers reported August 4th.
Washington started August 11th.
Yeah, I knew that the southern states started earlier, because I always thought, wow, that's way early, ones in the down south.
Yeah,
And I couldn't figure out why, because it's hot down there.
Yeah.
they usually go back that first week of August, so then they're out
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
Because they get out for a little bit of summer before it's really.
So really the question is, do we wanna put two drastically different calendars back out to our community for a vote? And it would just be voting on those calendars. We don't have to, that was just a discussion of the committee.
I just don't think the general public wants to go back to school that early.
I don't either, based on the survey results.
I mean, it seems like most people generally were on board with the
Status
staff
quo.
so I don't know.
Something based on.
Yes,
Right.
we just need to tweak and refine a couple things, move the PD days a bit, make sure spring break's happening that second full week of April, so there's enough time between February break and April break.
Do
What's the
all
problem?
districts,
Sorry.
does all districts have fall recess?
Yes.
So
Some
it used to be UEA, but we don't have it.
almost all still do the Thursday, Friday, and it
Okay.
would have been this week. Some go longer, Wasatch is one, so yesterday and today were PD days for their teachers. And then all their students are out this entire week, their teachers are out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I'm a little surprised there's more support for aligning spring break with other Wasatch back districts. Do you have any sense of why people don't care?
I think that was more for our employees who reside in those
Right,
areas.
so that's why, but even the employees, 16.2%, 279.
Yeah. And I think some of them already have plans in which they use their PTO and they figured it out because we have it aligned for several years now. But yeah, I was surprised by that too. I thought there would be more who supported aligning. And I think some of it has to do with our February break. They want our break spread out a little more, so that if we're starting spring break, say on March 30th, they almost feel like, well, we just had a break, why are we having another break?
There's one thing comes up, I mean, we talk about the calendar every year, right? And every year it's a little bit contentious and we put the survey up and it screams like something around this, just don't change it. Just keep.
So I'm fine for us to refine option one and put that before the board, for a vote in November. And then the idea is to use that one so we can develop a 3-year calendar. So we're planned out for the next 3 years, because we do have families who are planning trips for next fall already, and they wanna know, what the calendar looks like.
And then just say we'll be surveying 3 years again,
Yeah, it had
if
been
it's not meeting the needs.
6 years since we had surveyed, and we tend to repeat this cycle and we almost always end up back with a very similar calendar.
But at least.
But it's good to ask, and they were very appreciative that we asked, and lots of insightful comments and things that we weren't aware of that kind of surfaced.
Couple of comments, suspicion about why we were asking.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the degree one. So, in the agenda here, or just?
No, I know, no, yes, so, okay, we will refine option one, and then we'll bring that before the board in November for vote. Okay,
Thank you.
switching gears. Give you guys an update on our strategic plan, so we're in year 3 of a 5-year strategic plan. This began in the fall of 2023 and will conclude in the spring of 2028. Here are our 5 goals. So 80% of our multilingual learners will reach language proficiency within 5 years. So those are students where English is not their first language. 90% of our third grade students will reach or exceed benchmark in reading as measured by the reading assessment. Currently, that is obedience. That is the assessment that the state is using. 90% of eighth grade students reach proficient in math as measured by RISE. That's the state assessment. 75% of our Park City School District graduates will meet the ACT College and Career Readiness benchmarks for English and reading. And Park City High School's graduation rate will be 100%, and that's the 4-year cohort. So they started with us in 9th grade and they graduate with us as a senior. So here's our current reality. So multilingual learners, they take an assessment that is called WIDA, stands for World Class Instructional Design Assessment. It measures 4 language domains, so it's listening, speaking, writing, and reading. Listening is their ability to understand spoken English. Speaking is ability to communicate orally in English. Reading is their ability to comprehend written English. And writing is their ability to produce written English. You'll notice in school year 23, so 22-23, there's an asterisk. There was a new proficiency criteria that was implemented. So before that, the composite proficiency level was a 5 to exit, and then they changed that to they kept 5 and then they added or composite proficiency level of a 4.2 and speaking proficiency level of 3.5. So that's why you see a bit of a bump. We exited more kids that year because the criteria changed. After that school year, it became a score of 4.2 or higher in the overall composite and a 3.5 or higher in the speaking domain, which they're considered fluent in English. Once they're exited, they enter a monitoring period of 4 years. So we are still monitoring them even though they've exited WIDA. So the dark blue means they achieved English proficiency, meaning that they exited WIDA. So we are the dark blue, the state is the gray, and this is measured in % of students. And then the lighter blue means they met their adequate progress goal for that year. We did have the highest percentage of NLLs making their adequate progress goal this last year. That was the 48%. 17% exited from WIDA and entered that monitored status. Next slide, this goes into 4th year, 5th year, 6th year, 7th year MLL. So 4th year is mostly our 3rd grade students. It could include some high school students because we're calculating this by how many years they've been with us. Majority is 3rd grade students. They take the WIDA for the first time in 1st grade. So 4th year is mostly 3rd grade, 5th year is mostly 4th grade, 6th year is mostly 5th grade, and it goes on. There are 6 proficiency levels within the WIDA. 1 is entering, 2 is emerging, 3 is developing, 4 is expanding, 5 is bridging, and 6 is reaching. So you can see the biggest bang for our buck is going to happen in 4th and 5th grade. So those 5th year and 6th year. Again, dark blue is meaning they exited the program. So they met the exit criteria. The light blue means they met their annual individual growth goal. Next slide, this is where I'm not certain how we set a goal for 80% when we're sitting at 17%. So what my team and I have discussed is we need to shift that goal to percentage of students who are actually meeting their individual growth goal each school year. Because if they're meeting their growth goal, then they're more likely to exit. So you'll see the 2028 goal is 80% proficiency. Our new goal is going to be 80% progressing. Really focusing on 4th and 5th grade because we want those students to exit before they leave elementary school. It becomes increasingly difficult to exit once you enter Secondary, because the language is more complex. Questions about multilingual learners? Couple things we have implemented, shadowing tools. So across the school district, Leah has developed an electronic shadowing tool. Our teachers and our principals are going in with the instructional coach and they're looking at student moves of our MLL students. So not what the teacher's doing, what you as a student is doing. Are you engaging in the activity? Are you using the academic vocabulary? Is there extended discourse happening between you and your peers? Were there missed opportunities on the part of the teacher where they could have engaged and provided question prompts and dialogue with that student to get the language production at a proficient level? I personally, and I'll say this for myself, this is not necessarily representative of our school district, but I believe it is education malpractice when we have students with us who English is not their native language. They start with us in preschool, they work all the way through the system, and they still have not been exited. We're a resource-rich district with experts. There is no reason why we cannot exit our students within 5 years. So this is becoming a huge focus for us. It is a requirement that our teachers have an ESL endorsement and they obtain that within the first 3 years of being with us. It has been a requirement for 15+ years. Now we're going to put those strategies, instructional practices into place within the classroom. Additionally, I've asked all principals, I want you to be able to name all of your MLL students that are in your building. It is such a large percentage. If we're moving a small percentage, if we're moving 2 or 3 of those MLL students, we're going to see that percentage swing in the right direction.
I guess just a couple of comments. One, I would love to really see focus on this in this forum, right? Where we're monitoring this, because 17% is disgusting. It's terrifying. And there are specific things that jump out here, right? I mean, why is the 17 so much lower in terms of making adequate progress? I mean, that's like, there must be specific reasons why some of these things are happening, but just generally seeing a real focus and a plan around like, how we're going to change this. I know we're doing better than the state, but the state's not right. That's not a baseline for us. And the other thing, we talked about this the other day, but how do we promote more integration between non-native English speakers and native English speakers outside of the academic environment? Like, how do we get them to socialize with each other, and that will improve a lot of their language and just kind of thoughts.
Yeah, we put a lot of things in place, Dream Big, Bright Futures, LIA, for some of the students, but we're still not making a dent. So this has been spotlighted across the district. It will continue to be spotlighted because this is unacceptable. In terms of the number of students who are not only making adequate growth in a school year, but also exiting after being with us for 5 years.
What's that graduation rate?
It's high. I mean, they're graduated, but
How?
we'll have
Yeah.
yeah, there are, some are earning 24 credit diplomas versus, which is the district diploma versus the full 28. And some are doing credit recovery.
Yeah.
But there's multiple paths to graduation. It looks different for every kid.
I think part of it is, if there's no English spoken at home.
Right. And that's why we're talking about integrating socially with other kids.
Yeah. They're speaking their native language.
Well, it's not just language, it's
Cultures.
culture,
Yeah.
customs, it's all those.
I mean, they've done income roles. I mean, they've done language development studies on children who are just in, if their parents from welfare, and how many words they hear. I mean, so that's.
Parents are
in
more
your
to read,
language,
you can do all of that with them.
Or you
I
work in
mean,
separate jobs.
Go ahead, Eileen.
Yes, Eileen has got brain development.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What has the school district looked, following up on what Nick and the others were saying about getting participation outside the classroom in ways that we know improve academic performance? Could the district perhaps focus on these fourth, fifth, sixth graders and get them and promote involvement in music and in sports and in other extracurriculars that we know also improve academic performance?
Yeah, I would say largely our Latino population is involved in extracurriculars in some form or fashion, whether it be after school, or through sports. They are engaged and involved at that level. We're also doing work with outreach through Cafe Con Amigos, where they come in, they have coffee, they meet with the principal. I was at one a couple weeks ago at Poland. We asked questions, they asked questions of us. And just trying to create that partnership so they do feel safe and we can provide them with the resources and tools that they can support their child at home.
Okay, thank you.
Could we look at, the kids who are successful, the kids who are exiting and we expect them to, can we look at what they are doing? Are there clues in there?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to extended academic discourse. So can I have a conversation with you using academic vocabulary? Then can I transfer that to writing? Can I transfer that to listening and comprehend what you're sharing with me in the English language? And it's just practice and, providing them with sentence stems and scaffolding so they can continue to progress in the English language.
Are they more likely to be doing extracurricular things?
Yes.
And I'm guessing this is a little bit chicken and egg, but I mean, it would just be interesting to understand some of that, right? What are the extracurricular things they're doing? Are there things we can promote for the others who are not doing so well to be a part of what actually going to happen? Can that sort of guide us somewhat in some of the other things we can do?
Yeah, these are all good questions, and this is kind of, again, spotlighting a problem that has been perpetuated. It didn't just happen overnight. This has been a long-standing problem that we need to correct and right the ship, so to speak.
Well, thank you for paying attention to that.
Hey, Campbell, do you have anything to add? No?
Maybe not, and I'll have a conversation with you later on, probably.
Any overseas?
This year, this is my first year. I decided this is something that's dear to my heart. I came from Arizona and I'm there for 16 years as a teacher and a principal, so lots of experience with especially Spanish speaking and ESL services. And then I ran a bilingual school in Ogden, Utah for 7 years. So yeah, there's a lot to look at.
I'm excited to see what's coming.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
Are these our only five I shouldn't say only, are these our five strategic goals? Is it possible to have a goal or a couple of goals that refer to these elements that we think support improvement in language, whether it's and we spend a lot of money, for example, on physical stuff, all the, the money we're putting into all that stuff. But is it possible to put a goal in that has more of I'm just roughly saying, Hispanic involvement in football or tennis or cheer or what, any of the, lacrosse? It seems as though if those are supporting things and we're spending a ton of money on these adjacent stuff to have a more well-rounded student. In the medical thing, and Eileen will know this, I'd have a goal for a clinical goal mortality, then I'd have a goal for patient satisfaction, then I'd have another goal for financial performance. Our goals are all focused on one very narrow element of what they do in school. And maybe if we shift a little bit, that, just for conversation in the future, that it may help us with this goal? And you're shaking your head, yes.
The Marble tile approach.
Right, I don't know what the acronym is, but
And every school has a school improvement plan that's tied to their land trust funding,
Mhm.
and almost all of them have a goal tied to MLL support, whether that be funding an MLL aid in the classroom, so there's one-on-one support to get that academic language production every day.
no, I see kids, because I pick kids up at various, with Colin, Ecker, da, 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 and in the younger grades, there is much more socialization between Hispanic little kids and the non-Hispanic kids. And then by the time you get to Ecker, it's sequestered out. The Hispanic group stays with the Hispanic group and the others stay with their group. So something happens between those first 3 grades and by the time they hit Ecker, that age group. So
I wonder if it's something as simple as middle school sports can happen.
Yeah.
We're pushing kids together and things like
right,
that.
I don't think it's
Upfront,
gonna, it's not gonna happen naturally. Then you have the boy-girl gender issue too, but it seems as though that we ought to be able to intervene in another way or try some experimental thing going forward, maybe not this year, next year, whatever, that can push artificially until it happens. I mean, I just saw, you know, little tiny guys and gals hugging each other as they're leaving school, goodbye and see you, Ramos or whatever. By the time they're at Ecker, all of that's gone.
No, you all raise good points, and as I said, we're,
Amy's nodding, I think she.
yeah,
has some-
digging into like, what is the root cause of
Yeah.
all of this, and how do we correct it?
Yeah. Because by the time they hit high school, then they're starting to work and all of that kind of stuff. It just pulls them farther and farther.
Yeah, our kiddos are stretched thin
Yeah.
once they hit high school with the level of commitments. Next goal is 3rd grade reading. So our goal is 90% by 2028. We are reporting on green and blues as measured by Acadians. The state reports out on only blues, meaning that they are above benchmark. We're reporting out on at or above. So you can see we continue to increase. We went from 79 to 84 to 87%. Our schools, respectively, Jeremy Ranch is at 94.4%, McCollum is at 86.7%, Harley's Park is 79.4%, and then Trailside is at 89.1%. And you may recall, we have the highest percentage of 3rd graders reading on grade level amongst all public school districts across the state. That was 69% according to the state. Remember, they are just measuring those kids who are blue, which is above benchmark. Again, this shows our 3rd grade reading as compared to the state. Senate Bill 127 passed in 2022, and it was specific to early literacy outcomes in grades K through 3. You may have heard the term letters or the science of reading. It's backed in 50 years of research. It's not a program or an intervention. It's an approach to teaching, and they focus on the 5 big ideas: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And it's constantly evolving because there's new evidence to support different reading strategies in helping kids to read on grade level. Our goal is to help our students to be able to write in response to increasingly complex texts. So as they progress through our system, we want their lexile level to increase, meaning the text complexity, as well as the way in which they respond to the text that they're reading. Any questions on reading? You likely are aware of, we implemented Wit Wisdom in 95% group last year for K3. That's gone well. There were some growing pains. Anytime you implement a new curriculum, there are growing pains. You would have expected to see an implementation dip. We did not see that with the new curriculum. And now in grades 4 through 8, we are rolling out arts and letters. So they had some PD last week with a representative from arts and letters. 8th grade math, our goal is 90% as measured by RISE. That is the state exam that all of our 8th graders take. So we were at 52, 59. Last year we were at 60%. The challenge with 8th grade math is it shifts to more abstract algebraic concepts such as linear functions, and variables. So those are concepts that our kids tend to struggle with, which is why we're focusing on 8th grade. You'll see it as compared to the state, we are above the state, but we still have work to do as it relates to obtaining that 90% proficient goal.
How are we, I mean, that's quite the goal at 60% when we are getting, I mean, at 90.
Bring it back to the 8th grade math teacher said the same thing, like, who set this goal?
Yeah, it's really high. I mean, we're doing better, as you can see, but
It's unrealistic.
that's not
So we're
really.
setting kids up to fail based on a goal which is not attainable.
And that's the challenge in digging back through how these goals were established. We're not quite sure what metrics were used or what data. And what I said to the 8th grade teachers is we want to see growth. If our kids are growing, and that proficiency is increasing, that's our goal at the end of the day. And we know that math standards are likely going to be up for adoption in January. Every 5 to 7 years, the state rewrites standards. Math is happening right now. We hope to see them adopted in January. So you may see a new curriculum adoption for math.
So what is the state goal?
The state doesn't have a goal that I'm aware of. Our goal is 90%. We're sitting at 60% right
I
now.
understand that, so, but we don't, so the state isn't imposing these goals on us, we are imposing them on ourselves.
These were established,
However, they were established.
Correct.
No.
correct.
So we may be exceeding the state goal for all we know, as it comes, as it's developed this year, or they'll, what if they give us a goal of 45 or something, you know, I mean, it's lower than low.
They don't give goals.
No, they don't. Those
They
are,
won't?
that is specific. They say
the
local
district.
control, right? So we're gonna set this generalized structure, but you can get more granular because you now have local control.
Was this set to 5-year plan?
It was in the fall of 23. So we're in year 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously we want 100% of our kids reaching proficiency, but you don't go from 60 to 100 overnight.
Right.
No.
Are there other districts that we know what their scores are, that we could
No, we can access
see what they're doing?
all data gateway, and look at what they're doing. What I can say is 8th grade has grown substantially over the last couple of years, in terms of percent of students being proficient.
So positively.
I mean, if the state's going to tell you, probably how many districts that are like that.
Right,
You know,
right.
I mean, I just feel like when I look at that, you know, a sensible goal in 3 years might be 65.
Right.
Yeah, I was.
But a sort of ongoing goal of seeing growth year on year is probably even better, right? To track 52, 59, 60, 62, 64, whatever we get. to.
Just a percentage increase, not a.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working with what we've inherited.
I-
The goal is growth.
My goal is way out there.
And you're right. It is a audacious goal, I will say. Our goal is growth, not perfection. If our kids are trending and growing, then we're meeting them at their level of need.
I think probably go back to some of the conversation we had a couple of months ago now, right? When we started talking about, you know, our overall vision and trying sort of that, and aligning these kind of things to some of that. Yeah, being realistic.
And the challenges, we're in the middle of a lag, the audit. In fact, we've got to respond with our year 2 progress. There's 3 recommendations that are still outstanding, and they're all specific to the strategic plan. So can we make small revisions? Yes, but we can't change it so much that it no longer aligns with what they
What the state
audited.
expects.
Yeah.
11th grade ACT goal. So our goal is for the English college and career readiness benchmark that students are scoring an 18. Reading is, or I apologize. That is the benchmark for English. So if you score an 18, that is indicative that you will be successful in a freshman year English course. For reading, it is 22. And our goal is 75%. of our students are meeting that goal. And we are focusing specifically on the 11th grade universal ACT because the state provides that and we proctor it at the high school. It is very difficult to track multiple ACTs for one student and then average their composite and then report out on that. So we're just focused on that 11th grade ACT goal. Again, you can see how we compare with the state. An 18 on the ACT is considered competitive for less selective. And many public universities, but it's considered below average for a selective institution. The national average for the ACT last year, so 2024, was 19.4. And you can see we have 85% of our students who scored an 18 or higher. Graduation goal is 100%. Obviously, we want all of our kids graduating school year 23-24. We were at 97. And again, this is that 4-year cohort, meaning they started in August as a 9th grader. They finished with us in June as a 12th grader.
Yeah, that's right around 12 kids.
Roughly, yeah. And we have not gotten the class of 2025 yet because students have until October 1 to complete their courses and or credits, and they can still be considered as part of the class of 2025. And we did have a handful, not many, that we're still finishing up some credits. So we anticipate that percentage being released in the next couple of months. It's usually October, November. Could be later, some of the data has been delayed.
That is good, because usually isn't it about 95? I mean, I don't know if I've ever really seen.
Yeah, so the state is at 89% for the class of 24, and we were at 97%, so we're above that state. You may have heard a year or two ago that we reported out that we did have 100% graduation rate. That was 12th graders who started in August and ended in June. So not the 4-year cohort. So the state tracks it by the 4-year cohort. We traditionally have reported out on, they started with us in August as a 12th grader, they finished with us in June, therefore all of those kids made it across the finish line, so we're reporting 100%. Questions on 5-year strategic plan goals?
I'm hung up on the dozen kids or so that are getting left behind right now. It'd just be really interesting to understand the cases around it. I'm sure there are
And some
legitimate reasons for some.
pursued their GED.
Right.
Right, some could have said, MTech is better for me, I know I wanna be an electrician. They don't require a diploma, high school diploma, so that's the path that I'm gonna pursue.
It would be great to understand that, because I think that leaves us with a true gap, right?
Yes.
What are the kids who should be graduating?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other questions on strategic
I
plan?
just look forward to setting new goals.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But that's just an update where we're at today, and we'll provide a middle of the year update, kind of things that have been implemented, where we're at. You will not see data like this again until next fall, when the state releases 25-26 achievement data.
I mean, the good news is we're above the state in everything. It's like unfortunate that in some cases the state is not good. Yeah.
So will we be discussing the new round of goals for in some of our next meetings then?
Yeah, as we did continue to evolve the retreat and our work with School Leadership Alliance, we can look at how do we refine these to make them more realistic and aligned with the work that's actually happening.
Right, we need a work plan alignment with the goals and figuring out how we're gonna do this, because otherwise this is just looking at a lot of pain, frankly, we'll never reach the goal that has been set, and so it's defeating. It's very, I would feel if I were a teacher, this would be very defeating. Because they're working hard, there's
Teachers
nothing
are
wrong.
working hard, they're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Kids are accomplishing great things.
Definition.
Some of these goals don't necessarily reflect,
And it comes across with wrong that we see,
Yeah.
because of this, it comes
Yeah,
across and
yeah.
achieve the best.
yeah, it doesn't necessarily reflect the hard work that's happening inside of our schools day in and day out. And if you look at the strategic plan, there's no specific mention of AI, and we know that's a big deal, right?
Right.
We know durable skills, those skills that transcend multiple professions, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, those are big. Industries are saying kids aren't coming with those, so how do we measure that? How do you quantify durable skills?
Every time you edit it, does it have to go, it has to go to the state, the board? The state board?
Not necessarily, it's just every fall right now, we're having to send a letter of how we're addressing the certain recommendations that they've provided to us. Interestingly enough, 3 outstanding aren't really specific to any of this. One is specific to master athletics. One is specific to, instructional strategies, but nothing is as specific as these schools.
And so where did they pull those from?
Good question.
I'm just, I mean, that's like, where did you come up with this if we didn't? Yeah.
Good question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I think even though we're not gonna just see data again till, same year, next year, same date, whatever. We need to have some, planning and all that in the interim, so I don't know, so
Yeah,
we aren't sitting here with the same conversation next October.
yeah, yes. And we've started meeting with our district leaders and our principals, and they're beginning the year conferences and compliance reviews. And the last question we've been asking our principals, can you tell me who all of your MLLs are in the building? And I wouldn't expect them to know today because many of these are new, but that will be an expectation. So the teachers as well as the principals, we know the 10 MLL students that are in our building, and we know what we need to do to move them and exit them from VITA.
I'm gonna skip around, are you?
Public comment.
Public comment, did we get Lori, anything?
I not received it.
What do you want to hear for public comment? Yes, ma'am. All right, we have a form.
Oh.
Piece of paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just fill, just cross reference.
yeah, you can. You can switch.
Chat first.
Yeah, you did that around that.
I'll give my disclaimer before you go, just to remind everybody of, sort of ground rules for public comment, that we do absolutely want to hear input from our community members at our meetings. But in order to respect and preserve the time allotted to each presenter on the agenda, each speaker who comes to bring public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. And if you're representing a group, you'll be limited to 5.
I think I can go even faster than that.
Come up here and sit with us.
Join us.
And then
So this is what I came to comment about, but this has been really interesting, and thank you
Who are
guys
you?
for your, I'm sorry, I'm Elizabeth Gordon. I have 2 kiddos at Jeremy Ranch in 5th, 3rd, and 1st grade. Just a quick comment about the ELL students. I don't, forgive my ignorance for the, like, a lot of the program, but, it might be worth, exploring the idea of like buddies. I don't know if that's something that's been thought of before, but I know that in Jeremy, they pair, I think it's a 1st grader and 5th grader for, as a reading buddy.
Yeah.
It's a really popular
I
program.
love it.
The kids absolutely love it. Jeremy Ranch kids are also super involved in like even coming to school early for programs, whether it's like jump rope club or our harmonic hawks. So like these kids, I think there's 70 kids in harmonic hawks who are willing to be there at 7:05 in the morning to sing. And I know that a lot of my kids' friends would be interested if they had like a weekly like game that they were supposed to do with a younger student or something like that. And then they just got to know that student a little bit earlier on in their life journey with Park City. Anyways, what I'm really here for is I'm like the Lorax of April break. I think from my conversations with like other parents, some of our confusion was just around April break. And like where the shift from April to March even came from, like if we were keeping the length of April break, we didn't understand how that helped anything to move it to March. It just, and it just wasn't discussed a lot. It was always like, okay, February break and Fridays off and, the beginning and end of the school year, totally cool. We just wrote it felt like 2 out of the 3 options moved break, but then in all communications, it just wasn't brought up. So just curious where that came from.
Yeah, that was likely a miss on our part. Full transparency. The breaks, we were trying to balance, like, if we kept February break or if we modified it, then how does that impact the spring break? If we start earlier, how does that impact the spring break?
Got it.
So that was a miss on our part. There was no ill intent or trying to slide something in. And as you heard from our conversation today, the intent is to maintain that second week of April like we've done historically.
Well, then if I can pick myself up by my feet, I'll.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, super insightful coming to meeting. Thank you. I'm Carolyn Gallagher. Hi, Dr. Gallagher. And
Hi there.
Hi. I brought up in my survey in the comments section about if we could possibly look at doing fixed red and white days, because my kids do early release and late start, and it's just so difficult to schedule anything. And I don't know any other school district that does it our way. So I put that in, but I guess it didn't make the list of people that.
No, that's actually a conversation that we had as part of realignment. And I'm also a proponent of it, just so you know, because with MTech coming online in Heber, they do have a fixed schedule.
It's just so much easier.
Yes, where every Monday and Wednesday are always red days,
Yep.
Tuesday and Thursday are
Yep.
always white days.
Friday can flip, or it can do
Yeah.
all of them, or whatever.
Fridays could be a modified 8, or it could flip every other week.
Totally.
That is just not conversation that has gotten a lot of traction yet, but not to say that we can't look at it. It did come up as part of realignment, but there were far bigger issues to resolve as part of realignment. But I know some of our teachers are supportive of that as well.
I do think parents would be supportive as well, if they heard about it, or like there was like a discussion about it. Just because it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Takes
that
the
was,
guessing out of the tweet.
absolutely, you're like, I look ahead, you're like, when can I schedule the dentist, and it's like, I gotta compare, and anyway. That was one thing, and then I was just gonna maybe make a comment on the English language situation. Just something that I personally witnessed when I went to, my daughter in 7th grade when she was at Ecker. She's currently in 9th grade at the high school. And when I was there in 7th grade watching a presentation by the class, the second language, English, I'm not sure, sorry, what you call it?
English language learners.
English language learners didn't have to participate. And so I personally, like to my daughter Charlotte, I was like, hey, why do they not participate in this project of presenting what you've written? And she was like, oh, they never do. They always get to skip out on every assignment. And I'm like, so how are they ever gonna learn the English then? You have to like get them somewhere, right? By having them do the assignment, even if it's not as like elaborate or long, but like, I was really shocked by them. And I came home and I was like, this is so weird. Like, why would you not have to do the assignment? So anyway, that's just something I personally witnessed and was very confused about.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, now I can go, is that, any more takers? Anybody, any questions come in? Yeah. And Laura, we didn't get anything on me, okay. All right, so we're gonna go over now to the consent agenda. We've got our regular session meeting minutes on September 16th, travel requests, personnel, the check registers from September 2025, and board revenue and expenditures. Did I get?
You can, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now we will move on to our monthly report.
Eileen also.
Oh.
Thumbs up.
Okay. Unanimous approval on the consent. Okay. We'll start with our student on the board.
Homecoming ended up going really well. We sold 808 tickets, which is a really large increase from last year. It was a really good turnout. And
Lots of
from,
fun.
and from the profits, we donated $500 to the Children's Tumor Foundation, which we voted on as a class. So we were really excited about that. We have Halloween week coming up the week of the 27th. And we also have fun spirit days for dressing up that week, as well as activities every day at the school except for Halloween. Student council has also been asked to send a representative to serve on the Friends of the Library board at the Park City Library, which we're really excited about. I'm gonna be the one going, and I'm very excited, just to help them understand more of what's going on at the high school and how they can better serve us.
That's a fantastic idea.
I agree. And tonight we have volleyball senior night. We also have sophomore sponge ball this Thursday, and we had or are having junior pumpkin carving either tonight or I'm not sure the day this week. And then our in-class meeting will be on the 22nd, which I'm pretty sure is Wednesday of next week. And
Yes,
I
you
think,
said that.
Yeah, we need to figure out those things, because we can only have two to go.
and I think
We
we're
can
just
absolutely-
going to be going over a more in-depth overview of what we've done this year and some really cool things that we have students doing. Probably a student perspective on how the addition of donor pouches at the high school is going, and just time for feedback, questions, and any possible collaboration with the board.
I love it. Who are the students that have gone at the open house? Is it?
Is it Hope Squad?
Yes, it
And-
was Hope Squad.
Hope Squad.
I'm not sure if there's another group, but Hope Squad was last year's.
Did you go to the open house?
I heard.
I couldn't either.
I'm on Hope Squad, and we were asked to volunteer.
How is the new space? We've been in school for 2 months, give or take.
I really like it. I think it's a.
How's the mind?
It's really good. I spent time in there, and I think it was really well executed. It's a great space to focus, and the librarian, she's really nice. And our tutors are really helpful as well. I visited the English tutor, Mrs. Bevins, the
Yes.
other day.
Good.
Mhm.
So the mind is, think of a modernized library, a collaborative space, students just need a space to sit and think, take a break. The study hall happens in there every period, and then we have tutors. We have a STEM tutor and an English tutor that kids can access during the day. And then closed campus, how's that going for our freshmen, sophomores?
I don't have a problem with it. I haven't heard anybody say that they have an issue with it either. I think, sophomores are excited for the opportunity coming up second semester to earn off campus. But right now, I think everybody's doing really well.
And are the lunch lines moving quickly with one lunch for 40 minutes?
I think so. It's sometimes it's kind of hard to differentiate when people are just talking with their friends near the lunch lines or if they are in the lunch line, but I think everybody who wants school lunch is getting school lunch on time.
Good. I heard there was some retraining of how to properly stand in line.
Here we go.
Yes, do we want to agree the student council meeting now? See somebody have.
Oh, yeah, the next,
Well, next week is.
next
Yeah,
week.
so,
Alright.
yeah, I really got down and find my kind of, two other people who already got it.
Did you say you were going?
I'm happy to go if we need somebody.
It's next
Wednesday?
Wednesday is 11:45.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it means to do.
You go to the classroom and they
Just sit down?
They do a presentation. I will meet you in the main office and we can walk up together.
Okay,
It's in the new space. They have a new student council room that is triple the size they used to have with storage. So yeah, we can meet in the main office and then we'll just walk up. They give a presentation and then a Q&A.
okay,
It's nothing, it's, just time for conversation.
okay, good. Does anybody else want to go?
Well, I was gonna ask Eileen, if she's, do you have any druthers about next?
I'm gonna,
Wednesday?
I'm gonna see if I can. I actually have a meeting about vision screening in schools with the state all that morning, and if it finishes on time, I can make it to student council.
I can make it that day.
Okay, I just might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's very
I can go
close to my
with you.
schedule.
Yeah, I'll tell meetings.
It's fine, that's nice.
Oh, good.
Time is there, it's great.
So the two, we can only have two go, right? Because otherwise it has to be flexible.
So you two, we're gonna,
Yeah.
okay, both.
And then we'll rotate.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
It's a pleasant
It is.
experience.
Thank you for the invite.
Yes, okay. Okay. Employee, are we finished? Sorry, thank you so much. And now we've got employee group reports.
Hello, Kristen Hall, co-president, PCSD, healthcare with Generous.
Where do you work?
I work
Kristen,
thank you.
What do you do?
I'm a school counselor at Park City High School, so I've been very encouraged by the conversations happening. Makes me very excited. I got chills at one point. On behalf of PCEA, we want to thank the board for your recent email regarding your commitment to educators. Your acknowledgement of the challenges educators face and your commitment to keeping our schools safe, supportive, and respectful is deeply appreciated by our members. It reminds us that we're all part of a district that values people first and stands up for kindness, inclusion, and professionalism. The association would like to express support for the proposed recording and meetings and interaction policy. We appreciate the district's forward-thinking approach to protecting the privacy and integrity of all participants in school-related conversations. Requiring consent before any recording takes place helps build trust, encourages open communication, and safeguards the respectful dialogue that makes collaboration possible. We also want to thank Lindsay Hensman for her open communication and collaborative spirit. Her willingness to partner with the association and engage educators on important topics regarding such as the calendar for next year. Her leadership and transparency just helps create a culture where the staff feel heard and supported. As educators, we're proud to work in a district where leadership, staff, and community share the same goal to keep Park City safe, supportive, and inspiring places for every student to learn and grow. So thank you for all you do in your partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any? No news is good news. Um. Oh, Ingrid, you coming up to talk to us about the MOU? Or
Do you want to come up?
you just want to grace us with your awesomeness? Oh, you could tell us about how Red Apple came out.
Oh my gosh, it's great. Lindsay shined.
Ingrid
On stage. No, like all the, yeah, students played, the band was there, we had a string quartet. We had the theater students selling opportunity tickets. We did an amazing job. We reached our goal there. We exceeded our paddle raise and live auction goals, so it was a great event, yeah.
Who is the auctioneer?
His name's Roger Lumblade, not local, but
Okay.
yeah, but,
That's when you walked outside and it was snowing. It's like.
yeah.
California, what's that?
It was, yes,
dusting snow at the end of the evening, which was really pretty, yeah. And just, yeah, it was great. Thanks. It was wonderful to share the stage with Lindsay. So, yeah. On the MOU, I'm happy to answer questions. Not much has substantively changed since the last version that you all reviewed at the, we're in October, at the September board meeting. Lindsay, Randy and I think collaborated on some questions and, again, we didn't change much substantively. The only, I would say, like, monetary change was that we moved from the 180,000, which was the district's commitment to PCF. Over the last 4 years, we increased that by 4% starting next fiscal year, and also 4% a year in the subsequent years, so through the duration of the MOU. So that is something that was changed. Am I forgetting anything, Randy, that we talked about?
And is that, I'm sorry, just a minute.
Yeah.
That district percentage is that implementation of. that
Yeah,
user
so it
foundation
reimburses the cost for a portion of our staff salary
Right.
and benefits. We can only use it for staff that are PCSD allocated or PCEF allocated staff from PCSD, which we all are, so that's our team. Trying to think if there's anything else. One other substantive change, we, in the last version, we left termination authority to PCSD. We asked if we could have that authority for our own staff. And so we also, alongside that, indemnify the district around any legal action that would occur from the termination of an employee. So that's a substantive change as well. I think from your attorney's perspective, that was a shift in a positive direction for the district rather than from us, but we want that responsibility for our staff. Yeah.
And we collaborated on that change and both legal counsels reviewed it. And
Yes.
we're fine.
Any points of contention? I'm sure you all collaborated on it, but is there anything we should be aware of that wasn't?
No.
I had to sit between these two.
No, we did, yeah.
All your
we
life
discussed- We discussed a few things and made sure that we're clear on just, type of employee we are and some of the things that, there's a lot of nuance because we are PCSD employees, but we also are our own nonprofit. And so having this document allows for us to just ensure we're all on the same page about, how we operate together. And I think reviewing it every couple of years is wise, regardless of making changes or not, just to ensure we continue to agree on the tenets within the document, so.
I think the biggest thing is as they implement their new strategic plan, how can we off-ramp some of the programs that they have funded for years that, from my perspective, likely should be a district cost? And what does that off-ramping look like? It can't be you funded 50,000 and now this next year the district needs to fund that request. It's a multi-year phased approach. So I would say our partnership is likely stronger than ever and we're in sync in terms of vision and alignment and moving our effort toward. But I really want the Ed Foundation to get back to why they exist, and it's to fund these educator-powered innovative ideas and not books, right?
I'm not just.
So the 4% increase, that's an ongoing, is that what you're saying?
We baked that in this contract, not really contract, it's MOU, but it's 2 years. So it's really next year and following.
Is it like a cost of living increase? Is that why we're come up with the 4%?
You can call it that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had an increase in that amount for 4 years. And we do have provided our staff a 3% COLA. We don't match what the district does. We kind of make our own decision around what's within our budget, what we can afford to do from a revenue perspective. So we're playing a little bit of catch up, but not really even that much catch up because it's been this is year 4 of the same amount that we started in 2022, 2021. Yeah.
And we're having early conversations. What would it look like if that foundation did come on to one of our existing salary schedules? But that could be complex, so Ingrid and I are talking about, is that a benefit to them, or is it, more detrimental to how they're currently compensated?
How many people is it?
We just hired 2 more.
Just hired 2 more, so where are we? We're at, we're at eight now, yeah,
8,
yes, yeah.
and very much needed.
Yeah, and we, just to be clear, we pay all of our staff salaries and benefits, other than the amount that we include in the MOU, so, yeah. We decide if that's the staff member we need, and then we bake that into our budget.
Thank you. So do we have to vote on
Yes.
this?
Would I make a motion to approve, that foundation MOU?
Any discussions? Eileen's on the board. Hope she's not there.
Come up.
Okay, she says. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up. We have the policies for posting. We have policy 7096. LEA specific licenses. We have policy 9026 vending.
Vending machine.
Machines, okay. And then 9027 child nutrition policies.
I make a motion to approve said policies for posting, and then I have questions.
A second. Any discussion?
Yes. Yes, so specifically the vending.
Kathleen, favorite cup.
It's me about it, to be honest, well, I don't think the high school should. This whole policy, I think it was written to benefit the high school to run vending machines at their school. Is that what we want back in our school?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking to understand the context of where we have the vending machines, and there's one very specific thing that we relate to grade 8 and only grade 8. And I would just like to understand more about what the circumstance is for the vending machines and what we're trying to achieve.
That's a concern after meeting in policy, that if we pull the vending machines out, we haven't had an issue, and I think it's a healthier choice. And then you're not competing with the state on turning them on and turning them off, or getting fined if they're still on when they show up. Why are we bringing them back, except that the high school wants more revenue? What do they want this revenue for, that they actually have to have vending machines for kids to have soda?
So I'll take a stab at it. I can't speak for Principal Fine. But I think knowing the original language that was in there, part of it is funding. I think the other piece of it is, as activities are going on during the evening at the high school, which happens a lot. There's nowhere to go and buy water, or buy soda, or buy, brownie, snack, M&Ms, whatever it is. For patrons that are there. And I don't even know if during games, if they run like a snack shack, some schools do that.
Concessions, but it's inconsistent, it's dependent upon the extracurricular that's happening and parent involvement.
So I think it's really twofold. He's trying to meet a need in the evenings. He's committed to following the nutrition standards where he can't have it on until a half hour after school ends. And they would go off at midnight, timers would be set, so.
It's
we
kind of
will-
a health thing is what my concern is that, why are we encouraging high school kids to drink soda and eat unhealthy snacks after school when they're exercising or doing something athletic, which is not very good for you.
I kind of figured it was more for the adults. Honestly, I'm sure those.
I think it's a challenge, right?
Yeah, that's my big concern is we wanna raise healthy and teach kids healthy habits. But then we wanna give them a Sprite before they go play football, which is not healthy.
Yeah,
And it's not good for their muscles if they're exercising and all of that.
I think a couple challenges. We know if we don't provide it, they're gonna leave campus and go get it if they want it, right? Whether it's walking or driving to 7-Eleven or going to Alberto's or to the.
That's during the day.
I think that happens after school too, before
Mhm.
practice,
Sure.
because they don't have access.
7-Eleven after school is.
It's
not-
packed. The other challenge is we do not have a concession stand facility inside of either gym.
Yeah.
Where, you go to other high schools and their gyms, you can sell
The
snacks.
booster clubs usually do.
Yeah,
that,
they're rent, we don't have that. They're setting up folding tables in a little cornered off space. I was at the volleyball game last week and they just had a folding table and they're selling snacks. So our current facilities don't lend themselves to, providing healthier options to our students. So I guess, do we want kids leaving campus to go get unhealthy snacks, or would we rather keep them on campus and provide unhealthy snacks?
Is there a middle ground, where we have some controls around the kind of things we're doing in there, as an imaging for.
Yeah,
And then if they still choose to go and get something unhealthy, so be it, that's out of our control, but we can at least.
Vitamin water, or whatever.
You see what I'm saying, when years ago, when the child nutrition department had it, they had to separate because the state would have pulled their federal funds if it wasn't healthy snacks, but now it's just kind of a.
well, where it's happening after hours, it's much more loose.
That's my big concern is.
Eileen has her hand raised.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I think I have an inherent issue with raising money by selling crappy so-called food to be either parents or kids. And especially when we used to have higher standards of regulation in many schools and many states, and now those regulations have dropped. That doesn't mean that we have to adhere to the lower standards. Could we, maybe Lila could help with this, could we get some input from the students as to what they want and how much they use it? But personally, I'd love to see if we could try and have healthy options available. I can imagine there's no need for us to be selling something more than water and healthier foods.
So I'm hearing that we're not opposed to the idea of vending. The real issue is what's in that.
Yes.
machine.
What is the quality?
Yes. And then who now regulates and monitors what goes in the
Because-
machine?
From my experience, vending, you can make a lot of money off of food that's not good for you.
Yeah,
That's why there's gas
You don't-
station, that's why now.
I mean, you can make
Corn dogs.
a minimal, not very much, if you put healthy food in. So when who's monitoring that, when somebody says, well, we need extra funds, so we're gonna push this, it just opens, I just rather have it healthy and not making money off of making our kids unhealthy.
we can put procedures in place that sort of monitor and regulate what goes into the vending machines. Not necessarily embedding it in policy.
Some would probably go, but we were saying no carbonated beverage vending will be available to students in grade 8. We're fine in every other grade, but not grade 8.
6 through 8.
No, it's
It
changed.
was in grade 8 when it was over at Treasure Mountain. And I give you, they haven't taken it out.
Right. I just, anyway, I think you're right, the general principle, we're not, I don't think there's opposition to having something, it's what is that thing and how do we put some control around it?
Do you guys sell snacks out of the student store?
No.
Oh, it's interesting, mine's crossed out.
Yeah.
Is there a desire to sell snacks?
I haven't heard talk about that, but I can definitely ask Miss Lynn.
Cause my wondering is the student council wanna generate funds by selling healthy snacks after school
Yeah.
through the
or
student
games.
store.
I can definitely.
I know manning it will be a challenge because you guys are engaged in a lot of extracurricular activities.
Mhm. That can definitely be a conversation, we can talk about that next Wednesday.
Okay.
Mhm.
Or the business class, do it
Yeah.
on, certain sports. And
So
they-
I guess the question there is the board comfortable
Do you wanna?
posting it?
Do we wanna
Or do
pull
we
this
wanna
from
pull
it?
it and add procedures? Procedures do not need to come before the board.
What's Eileen, what's your feeling?
If we can count on collaboration with students and with the administrators with the understanding that we want to set an example of selling healthy food and drink, then I'd be okay to vote for it. But again, I do feel strongly for the two reasons. First of all, raising funds on unhealthy content is not a good MO. And then number two, I didn't mention was it's the poor kids who end up doing this because they don't have the car to go off campus. And that's not fair to them.
I would,
We can
So
pull it,
we're
send it
already-
back to this
Let's
to
pull
the
it.
committee.
I think so, I mean, even if we approve posting, I don't think we're close to being in a place to approve it fully, and I just think it's better.
Let's pull it, we'll send it back to the
Discuss.
committee and invite Caleb to that next policy committee meeting.
So then, so our policy for posting to vote on now is the LEA specific licenses and the child nutrition.
Yeah,
And
just,
the child nutrition policy is the lunch charge policy? Is that what that is?
Yes, charging and refunds.
The charging and refund, okay,
Yeah, it's really just a 5-year review.
yeah.
but maybe a conversation, I mean, I'd love to look at that,
Right.
or more broadly, I don't know if it's worth pulling that now. Until we can look at that.
Yeah, I wonder if hypothetical, we wanted to move back into that Panda model where we're affording all kids access to lunch without cost. We need to look at budget implications.
Yeah, so we're planning on studying that this year. We'll have something in time for budget time, if there's gonna be a significant change. That's some of the study.
So essentially, if we that for now and then look at it again. When
Yeah, we can revise it in spring if we can too.
This is required by the state, right? Isn't it federal?
Yeah, and Amy did reach out to the state.
Uh-huh.
They're hesitant to give any kind of legal advice. Is their response?
They reached out to, well, did they reach out to the child nutrition? The
Yes.
state, and Kim Lovell didn't give you any?
Yeah, she responded and said, here are the USDA's perspective on all this, which is to encourage kids to apply for reduced or, free lunch, which we absolutely do. And then, she asked me to compare it to the unclaimed property law,
Mm-hmm.
and so Randy and I went through that. And we are currently in line with that policy, and I actually learned that you wrote that policy in 2000.
That's why I brought it up from policy.
So we're saying we'll re-up this because it's the 5 years. Which is what we
Yeah.
normally do with policies, and then when we go through, they are this year, we'll see that.
Yeah,
So.
Well, we're sticking with this for now, we're gonna look at the budget and what other things we can do between now and.
do you have numbers from during COVID, how much it costs if the district subsidized?
So I haven't audited or put anything together yet
Oh,
for
okay.
nutrition. As soon as I can walk in about 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
without this thing on my leg, then we'll, I know,
Can't your
try
director?
to wait as long as you can. What's that?
Could your child nutrition director do that for you? They have access to the state website that has all those numbers.
Yeah, we'll gather on that. We'll put together an audit plan, because we're gonna look at the whole program,
Okay,
meal for labor hour, all that kind of stuff.
okay.
Yeah, we'll put a lot of data there.
Any more
No.
questions? Then I make a motion to approve the posting policies 7096 and 9027.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry, I've got a kid. I can't go pick you up. Okay, so we have the following policies have been posted for the required 20 days and are now before the board for adoption. We have policy 1007, environmental regulation plan, policy 3013, bullying and cyberbullying. 3014, recording of meetings. This is the policy that was referred to earlier. Policy 5005, building access and security, and policy 9065, volunteers from the school.
I make a motion to reject the policies as read.
Second, third.
Any discussion?
Our elementary principals will be thrilled about the volunteer policy.
Eileen also approves.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think that's at least all of our to-do list for this evening.
Then I make a motion to adjourn until the next regularly scheduled meeting. Whatever it is.
In November.
Whenever.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have you seen anything with measles increase or any of that? Any,